people do for money. What people do for money. What people do for money. What people do for
And you gotta remember all of this, and then they're like, buy 50, and they're like, all the papers going all the place, people going crazy, buy, sell. It really gets crazy. I mean, you gentlemen haven't really seen half of it. It gets sick.
The way Wall Street is going today, I think, could lead us to economic suicide.
I'm at an eighth now, the public's gone, I'm a seller with you guys. It's higher than high. When you hit the button and the bells ring, it's like the pinball, all the lights go up. Baby, I did it.
Optical radiation, ORCO, you buy 3,029 net to you.
The way Wall Street goes is the way this country goes. And those bankers, those big guys with all them big bucks, all they're concerned about is what can they line their pocket with, the hell with the little guy that's going to be working for it.
Let me tell you something. Nobody has ever invented a system that has provided more shared prosperity and greater individual freedom than the free enterprise system has for the people of the United States of America.
The capital of the United States is not Washington, D.C. The capital of the United States is right here on Wall Street.
Wall Street not only is a power center, Wall Street controls the face of this planet.
Like it or not, Wall Street controls our money. It sets the price of everything, from food to factories, from pipelines to pensions. It creates new jobs and wipes out old ones. It is the force. Though high finance remains a mystery to most of us, we can't afford to ignore it. For the bottom line is, we all have a stake in the Wall Street connection.
Shake them niggas. Scary hours, no money out. Smash the Guinness stout, play the outfield. Lucille switch cracks on chill. She's a rich fiend. Sacrifice her fam, ship them niggas to Queens. Guest jeans, he charged 35 beans. Hit the cell phone, regulate with well-known tone. A Wally Kingpin, who also slammed the Stripe edition. What up, Corleone, smoke the bone, tone foamy. What up, he tried to sling there, address him with chrome only. Grady with the gray beard, transport form, rockin' Nike hat. Rastafari and Bird, piping that, switching Benzes. 10-carat nigga with gold lenses, frontin' like he's sitting on a lump, he's sitting on junk. You wanna pull a heist, draw guns and robberies. You wanna rock rep, step in yellow wallabies, names arranged. The Century Fox, little Glocks, them niggas with stocks, wheeling in blocks, rich lifestyle, small like an ordinary white child. But right now, sun is still shine, shed light now. Break down, liquidate guard, fuck it, grab the nickel plate, Spencer for hire. Tension when we mention Dryer, he's a slave cop, behave pop, with Susu Babe stop and blow that cat at the Purple Haze spot.
I remember sticking fiends at the 162 when we was starving, ducking 5-0, paying them dues. Times is hard in the slums I'm from. They got us barred and we warring in case dodging, ripping and robbing. Got the narc sabotaging, slipping cracks in your camouflaging. Now you snitching on the squadron. That's something niggas can't pardon. City overrun by young gun with bad intention and wu-wear garment. So I see no need to mention the potency of a sting from a killer bee. Kicking the battery out the back of the watch cracks. Extorted for your get high, you hijack. These friendly skies, they for you, they for me and mine. This the year of the grimy nigga, ragtime. Keep these niggas on the run, peep my clan emblem. Iron lung ain't got to tell you where it's coming from. Catch you swimming with these sharks now. You rap villains, we feel the same way you feeling. Let it be known, what the blood clot you niggas dealing. You crash dummies, cash rules, still don't nothing move but the money.
Hey yo, strong arm, that kid right there with wavy hair. Billy Johnson snatched him out his whip in Times Square. Took his Pumas, nameplate, Duke lost weight. Summer 88 started a fight at Can't Wait. Asked Dorothy, same kid, pussy up in Marcy. Blazing that Ted Rossi, up in the Marquise. He lost like 100 ounces. Take Russ's houses, had him on the porch, ass no trousers. The souped up, individual stuff, the new stuff. Same kid crying crying on the stand with Judge Kuffner. Kissed him with art numbers 3 to 9 style. Before he left, he flashed in his face like Denzel. Richard Dale took his beaver, undrew a ball in his whip. Mushy dropped and split his wig with the heater. His shape up was all fucked up as he had me laughing. God, you see how he was laid out in the grass with dirt in his mouth. Slim woke him up, told him he wild out. Blood leaking from his teeth, he smiled like he dumbed out. Big bolo, stacking his shit, financed the Volvo. He copping shit from a small coffee shop in Soho. He still pussy. He sell his dust up on the Lower East.
Set as a magic kingdom at the foot of Manhattan, the world of high finance that we call Wall Street is on a bold new course. Coming off Lower Broadway, Wall Street is only a few blocks long, but its reach is global. At the core, the New York Stock Exchange, where the nightly tally, the Dow Jones Average, tells us where the economy may be going.
No, as large, I could sell 40 or 50,000 shares.
I'll see if my boy has a friend.
Fair enough. Well, the market is a very honest place. It's the greatest poll because it tells you honestly what people judge the future to be. They bet with their dollars as they invest them. This is the moment of truth. This is where they put their dollars on the line.
Every day is a showdown for some 200,000 who pour into the canyons of capitalism. They take their posts in the big banks, insurance companies, and brokerage houses, all battling for financial supremacy. The spoils are enormous, and this once elite preserve attracts a rich assortment of characters.
When I was a young boy, my mother told me, if you want to make big money, you got to go to a big city where the people go. My father told me, if you want to really make bigger money, you got to go where the money is. And the money is on Wall Street. That's what it is.
I came down here because I was the kid on the block in Brooklyn who used to know what all the batting averages of the Brooklyn Dodgers. How else could I make a living with that skill? Yeah.
Sure kid, I'll show you 50 and 4 7/8.
I'll take 50 and 7/8.
You got 50, you got spare leads, in your way with a Y.
FOC 930.
I originally was a dental assistant, and I just felt that I needed more. I wanted more. In the beginning, I wasn't accepted. I paved the way. A lot of women now can come on the floor and do a job and not have to fight.
You're going after a big trade. You got to do it now, right?
I have more opportunities because I'm a lady versus a man. I have heard ample times from my clients that my face, my looks got me in the door and my brains have kept me there.
Originally, I was one of the guys that was a radical in Berkeley in the 60s, was involved in the civil rights movement. So it's a little surprising that you end up in the heart of Wall Street after coming from a background like that. But the lifestyle isn't that different, interestingly. The money doesn't mean that much. I love the game.
The game is infinitely complicated. A contest between buyers, bulls, and sellers, bears. Each side convinced it can score. But according to one of the world's leading gold traders, there is a design in all the ups and downs and convolutions.
I'm not sure that the people on Wall Street understand what they're doing here. But in the pursuit of their own self-interest, they are bringing the prices of one kind of way of investing money higher and the prices of other ways of investing money lower. And as a result, they are allocating the resources of the society.
Wall Street now raises half the world's capital. Decisions made in New York City set the price for the world's newest treasure, oil, and the world's oldest treasure.
Right behind me is the largest gold market. It's here in New York. It's been here since December 1974, and in the short span of 10 years, New York and the COMEX have become the dominant center for the world trading of gold.
Going for the gold is the essence of the American dream. The quest can start with a simple clerk's job. Local kids straight out of high school, hungry for the chance.
You got to be young in this business because if you're not, you just can't make it. It's just such a stressful job. You'll always see like blood pressure vehicles out here testing the brokers every time. The first time I walked down there, it was like a limit up move, and I was like, I'm not working there. We hired this one guy. He was out of college. My boss goes, I don't think this guy's going to work out. I said, why? He goes, He just looks a little timid to me. The buzzer rang, people, buy him, sold. He goes, like after an hour, him running back, getting pushed in the crowd and everything, he goes, oh, which way's the bathroom? Never came back. He couldn't handle the stress.
You have to be strong in the mind, and you have to be willing to understand if you make a mistake, you come right back. It's a crazy place, but you gotta love it.
Some guys down there, they get out of college, they figure they got the degree. They're happy where they are. They're making a little money. But if you want the gold and you want to work for it, and you want to get up top and you want to be richer than your boss, I told my boss, I want your badge. I told him, I'm not just here to be a clerk. I want to be on the top.
A barrage of images and promises invites us to become a nation of investors.
They earn it.
IRAs, certificates of deposit, mutual funds, tax shelters. Jump in, make your fortune. Just giving financial advice has become a major growth industry in the city.
Baby boomers are pushing 40. They want to know. They're more affluent than any generation before, and they want to know what to do with their money. They need this kind of help.
At this financial supermarket in Madison Square Garden, the public could choose from more than 200 kinds of investments. Everything from cocoa bean futures to condominiums.
If you're looking for investment, you have an investment in your son here. And if I was a young man starting out, I would start him out in real estate. And the greatest security that you can
Arthur Rand sells real estate. But when it comes to Wall Street, he is not buying.
I definitely believe all schemes, all tax shelters, everything, raising capital comes out from Wall Street. And today I think that there's so many products and so many different ways to get your money that you really have to have a dictionary to find out who's who and what's what. I think even in the stock market, we're against a rigged deck. You're coming in, you're playing cards with people that have the joker. It's made by the specialists, and I don't see any reason why one stock should be $10 one day and $11 or $12 the next day with nothing happening in that stock. I think there's different layers of where people get in. I think the institutions get in at the right time. They put in their whole cash. Then the secondary people come in, and then the gullible public comes in. While the public is coming in, the institutions are selling. And this goes round and round, round robin.
The big money movers now control the market. A historic reversal from just 20 years ago when most capital came from private individuals investing for the long haul. Now the institutions trade in huge short-term moves which jolt the market and make the private investor wary.
I'm concerned that the individual investor is protected in this marketplace. For that individual investor to come into the market and be part of the process, two things have to occur. In the first place, he has to believe that he will be fairly treated in this marketplace. Secondly, he will have to be persuaded that this is a market in which he can make money.
Heisman Trophy Awards down there.
Brokers who can convince people that there is money to be made are Wall Street's foot soldiers. It is their job to keep things moving in good times and the bad times.
You guys show owning something. I mean, this stock is out of bed like 6 points in a week. You show owning like 40-some thousand.
So I can buy more Phillips.
Sandy Pope came to the city from Columbus, Ohio, seeking her fortune.
Okay.
The commission came out of the other side.
Okay.
Only 25, she handles major brokerage accounts at Rooney Pace.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So that's your ballgame.
Okay. Institutions are about 80% of my business. Institutions meaning I talk to the banks in Kentucky and I talk to the pension funds in Ohio and the insurance companies and all of that. But I also run money. I have a lot of retail accounts. I have discretionary money. And when I hear, and I've met people like that I never know what's going on, and my broker never calls me, or I can't stand my broker, or I never know what's going on down there, fire them. I mean, it's their fault. I hate to say that, but it's their fault. If you don't like your broker, you get rid of him.
Successful brokers are under tremendous pressure to produce quick profits and thrive on the challenge.
I'm very aggressive. I do this 100% of the time. You just don't stop. I mean, once you start to stop, then that's it. It's just focus. I mean, psychology is 80% of the market. I follow my gut.
18 and 5/8, they have to pay a commission.
We only had 10-1.
At the heart of the action, Sandy Pope has to cope with an ever more volatile market.
There's 2,000 left at 5/8 on Norland. Any takers?
Thank you very much, Bob.
George!
Bye-bye now.
I believe that in 3 to 4 years, I'm going to look back and say, I'm glad I realized what just... We're going through the biggest boom, the biggest positive development time that the U.S. is ever going to see. I mean, there's going to be history made with this tax reform, and the changes that are going to take place are just going to be monumental, and there's going to be a lot of money made, and I'm not going to wait.
Money makes the world go round, the world go round, the world go round. Money makes the world go round, it makes the world go round.
Money does make the world go round. But is it spinning out of control? Technology accelerates. The government deregulates. Money managers manipulate. Corporations speculate. It is called the casinoization of Wall Street.
At 3! 25 and 3! I'm with you. 50 ahead!
Ronnie Shear runs the book for the hottest new game in town, the American Stock Exchange's Major Market Index. Here they hedge and speculate on where the market is headed.
Size! I got 15 over here.
There's a certain cycle in a trader. When you start out with nothing, you can risk everything.
600.
I made it not sleeping. I made it really the hard way. And it took a lot out of me, and it took a little off my head.
Drifting in from New Jersey 16 years ago, Clem Woolreich found his calling and has become one of the floor's premier tape readers.
The evolution of this exchange, it's like from the amoeba to the most complex computer. We're forced to fight the machines. And we do it on a daily basis because we think that we've got a little bit more settle, if you know what that means, than they do.
William DeCamp, at 28, is one of the pit's most daring of speculators. He risks his own capital and can win or lose hundreds of thousands in a day.
Ronnie, 103 streets opening.
It's the most incredible feeling I've ever had being on my own, not being answering to anybody. The pressure, believe it or not, it's less pressure. I know the money's mine. If I go out, I'm out of business. But where else can a guy like you or a guy like me go into business
with limited intelligence
and a limited amount of capital?
Who's got intelligence?
Who couldn't
and walk away seriously making a serious amount of money?
These traders see themselves as Wall Street's last true entrepreneurs. They defy the big institutions whose analysts, computers, and enormous pools of capital should give them the edge.
There's some very smart analysts who are...
I never met a smart analyst in my life. There's no such thing. Because if they were smart, they wouldn't be analysts.
Trade. But the guys who run this country, the guys who run the big institutional money, the guys who run the big pension plans, the big insurance company, they got all the money. You know whose money they got? Let me tell you something. You know whose money they got? They got the money of the average guy that's out there working for a living. He's got a pension plan. He's trying to save some money. And who manages it? A bunch of dummies. The guys that manage the money can't even make as much as if they own government bonds. The whole country's terrible.
The boiling action downtown is doing little for the nation's productive strength, according to one of Wall Street's most outspoken critics, an investment banker turned novelist.
Well, I think that what's happened is there's a balance on Wall Street that has been disturbed. Wall Street has always been in business of making money for Wall Street, but it also performed a very useful function, which it trumpeted loudly, and that was raising money for the modernization, for the productive improvement of this country. There seems to be more and more evidence that Wall Street today is principally preoccupied with creating transactions, irrespective of whether they have any kind of useful function in the future of this society or this economy, simply because they generate large fees and commissions for an important infrastructure located at the southern end of Manhattan.
There's no doubt, though, that Wall Street's boom helped the city bounce back from near bankruptcy 10 years ago. Then the street did some extensive refinancing and in return got tax breaks to stay in town and build.
It provides a lot of work for a lot of people that wouldn't work. From time to time, they hire people, and like I said, everybody gets a piece of the action, you know. The higher up you are on the ladder, the bigger the piece of action. But for your small person, you know, you get a piece too, you know. Everybody gets a little bit, you know.
All this new construction is for the emerging superpowers of world finance, such as American Express, which will be headquartered here. The giants of finance are gobbling up smaller operations as they bid for supremacy.
Most of the workers know this is going to be the financial headquarters for the world. They've talked that it's supposed to be, Wall Street seems to be reached its peak and they have to expand out somewhere, so this landfill has become part of it. A lot of guys, though, are beefing, saying, you know, we're going to put these towers up, and the same people that are going to control the money, we're probably going to have a tough time getting loans. You know, a lot of guys, because they're in construction, because the work is sporadic, they don't get loans from banks very easily. I mean, you could make $40,000 one year, and you could make $20,000 next year, so the banks are a little leery because of dry seasons. It seems kind of ironic. We're going to build a World Financial Center, and maybe 5 or 10 years from now, after it's built, we may have a tough time getting money ourselves. So I don't have as much faith in the people that are going to be up in these towers as I do as the men that are building them.
The faith Wall Street has in its own future is pushing the density downtown right to the limit. And the street is looking elsewhere for even more space. The city has tried to help.
We're on a roll now. We're willing to give bargains for those people smart enough to get over the hang-up and come to the other boroughs and build these back office facilities and bring the jobs to where the workers are.
In some ways, Wall Street's explosive growth is a mixed blessing. In the Park Slope section of Brooklyn, there's concern about the future of the community among residents such as Nino Nanneroni, a Catholic charities worker, and his wife Tina, an automobile mechanic.
And what's happening is that the Wall Street firms are beginning to look at our downtown area in order to put backspace in there for offices. And that's going to directly affect us because it's going to force people out of their homes. And we have to look why it's a good thing to have people reinvest and look at Brooklyn. At the same time, what about the people that live here?
7 years ago, the Nanneronis and 2 other couples managed to buy this once run-down building, their very first investment.
Let's go.
Although the banks refused to give them a mortgage, they borrowed and scrimped and fixed it up. Now each couple has a complete floor and a new awareness about financial matters.
What I think about in terms of Wall Street and money is I think about security. I think about my kids, my family. I think about my future in terms of times when I'm going to be retired. Therefore, I'm looking at IRAs. Have a good night.
You need your scarf. We didn't put off having children until we felt we had accumulated money to pay for their education the way some of our friends did. But it would be wise to start planning for it now because I know it's going to cost many, many, many thousands of dollars.
Crash and a bang, the bed came falling down.
Financing a home, saving for the children's education, investing for retirement. These are universals and connect us all to Wall Street, seemingly so far removed from everyday life.
You know, we're out here living our lives day in and day out, and then there's the Dow Jones things that goes across the screen on the television set, and you look at it, it's like a game. I know in some economic matters that these things affect, myself and my community. I know that it's phenomenal the amount of money that they're talking about in terms of stocks and bonds and mergers and stuff like that. In some ways, it's almost like a bubble. The bubble is sort of getting bigger and more people are in it right now. But at a certain point, somebody's going to have to ask the question about, is this all there is?
40, 50, 50.
For many downtown, the game is everything.
You bought 15, let's go. 3.5 for 5. Hey, he's got my ticket.
Tommy. How do you know 3 o'clock in the morning? I don't see your face. I see your face. And now why did he beat me on a trade yesterday?
So I beat you for a teeny. It's only a 16th. It's only a 16th.
However, when you hit him and you have a really good day, especially like today when you went from a loss to a real profit, is just like so good. There's just nothing that can happen better.
Relate it to something in your life.
I'm not I'm not one of those kind of guys.
No, it's got to be.
It's better than, I don't know.
What is it better than?
I'll tell you what it's better than. I'll tell you what it's better than.
Better than good sex?
No, it's better than something I really love. It's better than catching a blue marlin with jumps. And if you ever had a blue marlin on the line, and that thing jumps 10, 15 out of the water, and you get so high, and you're just so great, like there's nothing as beautiful as that. It's almost as good when you have a really good day. And your body shakes, I mean.
I wouldn't want to be in this business if it were free money. I would want to be in it just for the risk, the excitement, the action.
You don't care about anything else but the action. Winning and losing.
We are all here for action.
The answer is money is how we keep score down here.
That's right.
Who gets the most, that's what counts.
That's right. And this is
that's how we keep score. And you know what? Your peers know how you're doing, whether you want them to or not.
That's right. But this is what my life is about. Whoever dies with the most toys wins. We were kids growing up. We played Monopoly either on a front stoop or under an old gnarled apple tree. Well, some never quit. They moved from the game room to the boardroom to the trading room. And now these high rollers risk millions of dollars in even bigger corporate battles and takeovers. Now, the result of all that, sometimes it benefits for everybody. There's a downside, too. Sometimes a lot of people get hurt. We were youngsters. We could start a new Monopoly game the next day. But here in Wall Street, they play for keeps. Yonkers knows that all too well. For 133 years, Otis Elevator was the backbone of the city. 1,500 employees, a huge payroll, a big taxpayer, a world-famous product. And then, Wall Street negotiated a takeover. United Technologies, a huge conglomerate, bought Otis and soon after shut down the Yonkers plant. The mayor of Yonkers protested.
I think the Wall Street barons who put these kinds of deals together ought to realize the impact upon communities for a planned closing. Yonkers, New York was devastated by the pencil pushers who came up and said, hey, I got a great deal for you. We can bring together this cash-rich company and you can be able to pick and pluck all their money and destroy that company and its heritage. And that's what they did with Otis Elevator.
The Defense Department was part of the...
Danny Apatiello worked his whole life at Otis and was the leader of the union there. He has not been able to find work since the shutdown in 1983.
I thought that I was going to have my job until I retired. My kids, if they wanted to work there, would have their job. All the other fellows would be in the same position. Right now, I'm at the point, I'm taking a custodian's job, if I get it. It's a far cry than the salary I got before, but it's a case of necessity. You know, every time I pass this plant, I get sick to my stomach. If anybody ever told me, after all the work that was put in to get these properties to build a new plant, that subsequently this giant conglomerate, the run SOBs, would ever come down and close us down, I wouldn't have believed it. When they broke the news to us, you know, it was like knife coming down and saying, we're going to close the Yonkers plant. That's a kick in the tush.
On investments, benefits, estate planning, and tax.
I'm not alone. There's many guys still out in the street that used to work there. And my guys, God bless them, they're proud. They will not take and go on welfare. I'll never take it. I want to work.
Hello? Felix Roten, a prominent investment banker who specializes in mergers and acquisitions, negotiated the takeover for United Technologies. When United Technologies took over Otis in Yonkers and ultimately United closed down Otis, a lot of people were out of work. How do you relate to that kind of community agony and the individual's agony involved?
Well, it always bothers me to see anybody suffering. But the reality of life is that it is impossible to maintain non-competitive facilities. And if Otis Elevator can't make it in Yonkers for whatever reasons, they're going to have to move, because if they don't move, somebody else will do it for them and they'll have to shut the facility down. It's a very, very cruel world. But there is no substitute for being competitive and for being productive.
The phase-out was inevitable, and United Technologies was not to blame, according to the engineer who managed the plant for Otis.
I want to tell you that this was a Otis Elevator Company decision, a decision that any prudent management would have made on the basis of the facts as to why the work had phased out, the technological changes, the downturn in the economy, and the loss of subcontract work.
Now Yonkers is suing United Technologies for the $14 million in public funds the city spent to buy land for plant expansion.
What happened in Yonkers, New York, can happen to them, and they ought to be...
The mayor argues that when United Technologies shut the plant and sent production overseas, it violated the agreement, which prompted the public outlay.
It's a major corporation. We still have this court case that could have historic impact upon further plant closings of people doing what United Technologies Otis Elevator did to Yonkers.
Okay. We'll have a mass right here.
Father John DeFell of St. Peter's Church led the community in its protests against the takeover.
What happened in Otis is a sign that the world is really in bad shape. Little people who worked very hard and very long, were just kicked in the pants and told, well, it's more important that some rich people make some money, so we can't make elevators here anymore. We'll have to make them in France because it's cheaper to do it there, and we can make more money if we can produce our product cheaply. Basically, in light of this, Wall Street to me means evil. I just feel that there has to be some serious regulation in terms of what goes on, not just on that street, but all that that street represents in terms of the money cabal that exists in our society. And that's the only way that little people can be protected, because it's the little people who get hurt.
Michael Thomas, who knows the takeover game, sees good reason for skepticism.
If people get the feeling that A, we're just going to end up, as one writer has described it, with a nation that consists on one hand of venture capitalists and real estate operators and on the other of hamburger wrappers, and B, that it's an insider's game, which it smells very strongly of being, in my opinion, right now. Coupled with that, they find themselves losing jobs or disemployed as a result of deals which seem in the end have done nothing but to pay some investment banker and some lawyer about $10 million along the way. You are putting the system in jeopardy.
All over this country, there is growing concern about the impact of Wall Street deals, takeovers, greenmail, buyouts, pseudo-bankruptcies. These Minnesota meatpacking workers brought in a New York City labor activist to help them fight back.
Give me a P. Give me an O. Give me a W. Give me an E. Give me an R. What have you got? Right. That's what we're talking about here today is power. How you can get it and how you can use it.
Ray Rogers believes that the rank and file can muster enough financial clout to challenge the downtown deal makers, only minutes away from his 14th Street office.
October. All of you were so damn mad you wanted to walk out on strike. I believe at that time that's exactly what the company wanted you to do. Why? Because they were calling all the shots.
Rogers insists that labor must win more control over the hundreds of billions of dollars in its pension funds, Wall Street's major source of capital.
The business of Wall Street is to make money, no matter what the cost is to people's lives and their communities. And as long as the Wall Street institutions are allowed to control the flow of money, how it's invested, whether it's union pension funds or the savings and checking accounts of all the people out there, they will continue to make decisions that allow profits to take precedent over people's lives. Now, the only way we're ever going to change that is if poor and working people, the underdogs in society, gain greater influence and control over these financial institutions so that they can establish investment priorities that instead of creating social and economic chaos, create a greater quality of life for everyone.
You yourself are on the record as saying some of the mergers, even those you've been involved with, are questionable. So how do you adjust to that?
Well, you have to do the best you can. Some are good, some are bad. I think you have to ask whether it's in the country's ultimate interest to have its resources used this way when credit may be very difficult a year or two from now. Whether the dislocations created by some of these mergers are worth the price, whether you're going to really wind up with more competitive and effective enterprises. Now, I can advise a client or a company and say, look, I'm not really sure you ought to do this, but if you decide you want to do it, I'll go do it for you, because that's my business.
Can anybody really predict the next boom or bust? Certainly not the experts. You got as much chance of picking a winner with a dart like this as do these expert Wall Street money managers. It's behind all their mumbo-jumbo puts and calls and longs and shorts. They're wondering as hard as we are just where the economy is really headed. The Reuters shock came 55 years ago. October 29th, 1929, the New York stock market crashed. The nation's financial system collapsed. Nearly 6,000 banks failed. Millions lost their savings, and 1/3 of America plunged into poverty by the Great Depression.
Just waiting for bread. Once I built a railroad, I made it run, made it race against time. Once I built a railroad, now it's done. Brother, can you spare a dime?
The country blamed Wall Street, demanded government action. New controls were put on bankers and brokers, and massive public spending began. And thus, the mixed economy was born.
Once I built a tower, now it's done.
Today, the New Deal philosophy is mostly dead or at least dormant. Wall Street has won fewer controls, and spokesmen such as investment banker William Simon urge further government withdrawal.
And I resisted when I was in the government, in the Treasury Department, the idea of government encroachment in the private sector, government intervention, government interference, government control over our lives and our livelihoods. This is deleterious to the entire system. It inhibits the profit-making ability of our system and causes a lot of distortions and inequities. It's a very unfair way to function, and we've been headed exactly in the opposite direction, and we better continue to keep moving government farther and farther away from the marketplace.
Some on the street, though, see an important role for government.
I think that there's enormous possibilities for people to take advantage of sort of that pot of gold that exists in America. But I think it requires the help of the government, because I believe a free market system in its extreme becomes like anarchy. The most powerful guy wins and everybody else loses.
Robert Tobin, senior partner in Rothschild, Unterberg, and Tobin, has been a winner. He began 25 years ago in a six-man firm, now a leading investment bank that helped to launch the computer industry. He knows the power of big money.
98% of the wealth of this country, the major companies of this country, are amongst 1,300 stocks listed on the New York Stock Exchange, which really, if you take 1,300 chief executives of the top 1,300 companies in this country, you can influence hundreds of millions of lives. So 1,300 people aren't very many when you think about that. So if those 1,300 people don't have some social responsibility, some sense of reality in the world, then we're headed in the wrong direction.
Bruce Llewellyn is one of the most successful black businessmen in the nation. He started with a deal he brought to Wall Street.
Back in 1969, I had an opportunity to buy a food chain for $3 million. And I talked to Bob Tobin, who at that time had a small investment banking firm down in Wall Street called Unterberg Tobin. And he said, I think we can do this deal. And he took me to the Prudential Life Insurance Company, which loaned me the $53 million and got me started. Now, in '69, Fedco Foods Corporation consisted of approximately 10 stores and 300 employees. As of August of this year, it consisted of 29 stores and 875 employees. So it shows you that there is something to be gained by putting money where your mouth is.
Raising money for new enterprise is Wall Street's most important function. These days, however, investment bankers are so busy competing for the biggest deals that minority businesses get very little attention.
Well, can you do that for tomorrow? I can't go to that meeting without having it right. There is no morality to money per se. Everyone has their own standards of morality and their own sense of what's proper and not proper. Where does the responsibility begin and end is a real question, because I'm not so sure the total responsibility for that lies with the businessman. I think the businessman can't be expected to make a stupid business decision, but he certainly can be affected in that business decision if the government sets up certain criteria which he has to live by.
Geographically, the South Bronx is really not very far away from Wall Street, but it's a long way from getting the money it needs. In the past, the government encouraged private investment by giving subsidies. The results mixed, but there were successes.
The biggest benefit out of this has been the taxpayer. Why? 800 people that we have employed that would have been on welfare at $20,000 to maintain a family of 4, we have saved the government and the taxpayer $16 million. And buy one, get one free, we produce $55 million of defense products. You said that...
John Marietta is a self-educated machinist and businessman. He convinced the Small Business Administration to give him an expansion loan. WedTech's growth and excellent production record attracted Wall Street, which recently underwrote a $21 million stock issue for further expansion.
What does Wall Street is doing with this New York Reagan from the ghettos? Very simple. Wall Street only recognizes, shall we say, money, profits. They don't care where it is, whether it's oil wells in Timbuktu or oil wells here in the South Bronx. Sometimes a diamond is raw, and only a specialist can see that that is a diamond. And that's what Wall Street saw.
The government subsidy and guarantee program that attract Wall Street investment are now being dismantled. The free market mandate is survival of the fittest.
Because Wall Street no longer has that commitment. And frankly, neither does the insurance industry at this point in time. And neither does the government. And frankly, the government sets the tone for everybody. Because of those three factors, 1984, 85, or 86 is going to be much, much tougher than it was in 1969 or 65. And I don't see any progress being made. And I think it's a tremendous mistake because, as I said repeatedly to people, if you don't make progress and include people in the system and let them be a viable part of it and let them pay their taxes, then what you're going to do is have a system that falls apart or is destroyed from within by the disenchanted, disaffected, and despised people, if you want to call it that, of our society.
Those who urge government activism to help the poor are in the minority today. Their conservative opponents argue that all will benefit if government policy allows the marketplace to prosper.
Government's role is to create an environment that is going to allow industry and trade and finance to flourish without fear or without favor. And that means to have non-inflationary economic growth that will provide a prosperity and an opportunity for people to succeed or indeed to fail. Unfortunately, government in recent decades has become such a destabilizing factor in our economy, with high inflation created by government, severe recessions created by government, that it's been very difficult for an awful lot of people in business and finance to succeed to the extent that they should have been able to.
There's a philosophy in America today that seems to indicate that if you've made it, the government's real job is to keep you more successful. And if those who haven't reached that level, well, that's too bad. If you happen to be as fortunate as I am, that's great. Doesn't hurt me. I think in the long run, it's going to hurt me. I think in the long run, if it doesn't hurt me, it'll hurt my kids. It'll hurt somebody, because it can't go on like that.
Things in life are free, but you can give them to the birds and bees. I want money. That's what I want.
Money is the manna for which we all pray. Whether we play the horses or the stock market, we look for a winning system. Wall Street is a raucous bazaar of conflicting advice. Establishment forecasting is mostly a flop, so the field is wide open for those who defy convention.
I've been down on Wall Street for over 20 years, and I found out that behind the three-piece business suits, the chauffeur limousines, lunch at Delmonico's, and everything else, that fear and greed is what makes the market go up and down and nothing else. Fear and greed is the operative mechanism. It's been that way since the beginning of time in speculative markets, and it's never going to stop. There's nothing else out there besides fear and greed.
169. These partners used to be successful institutional traders. Now you might say that Ed Thomas, known as Fast Eddie, and Jack Schumann take the cosmic view.
I think I've had a research breakthrough that represents a paradigm shift. It's a breakthrough of such significant importance that I have, although I have a great difficulty in saying this, I think it's a Galilean, Einsteinian breakthrough in economics. I don't know, but I think...
The partners say they've devised a formula for beating the market based on computer analysis and astrology. In the middle of last December, when we filmed them, they made this prediction.
From the data, it looks like there's enough speculative energy in the cyclical environment that we're going to take off very shortly here, and the market has a good chance of making all-time highs in the early part of March. And unfortunately, I think, again, the public's going to get hooked right at the top of the market, but they're probably going to go down in April and May. And so I just wish we could get this material in the hands of the public. If we do it, and we're successful at it, we will get wealthy beyond our wildest dreams, and in short order.
Whether the partners are right or wrong, in the long run, all predictive systems have failed. Uncertainty, that's the essence of the free market.
The system is so complicated that we barely understand it, and we surely don't think there's anybody else there aren't some wizards or magicians somewhere that do understand it. Whatever the system is, government, Federal Reserve, it's a bunch of guys with a very complicated machine in front of them, hundreds of levers, interest rates, money supply, bond prices, and they can play with those levers. They don't know what's going to come out. We don't know what's going to come out. We don't know if the government is going to nationalize the banks or pump money into the system, or whether it'll all just sort of simmer down one day without any bother at all. So it's all philosophy. From the practical standpoint of what we have to do every day, we have to realize we're living in an unpredictable system.
We've all been touched by the instability of the economy. This section of Park Slope, where the Nanaronis live, used to be redlined. Now it's becoming prime real estate. In my hometown in the Midwest, values are falling. It brings back memories.
When I was a youngster growing up in Wisconsin in the Depression, Wall Street to me was a dirty word. It was a boogeyman. Now, you're much closer to it geographically now than I was. How do you view it and feel about it?
My feelings are, I would worry that I'd need to do a lot of investigating to make sure my money wasn't going to South Africa, wasn't going to firms that don't want to pay the cleanup costs of the pollution, and I would want to see my money going into a community, into people, housing.
Nina, what would keep you from working on Wall Street, for example?
I think the values, where your values are. And I kind of think that where I'd like to put my energies is not there in terms of making money. I think I'd like to put my energies in terms of, you talk about investment in people.
Nino Nanarone works on the Lower East Side, which is within walking distance of the financial center. The area has become a battleground with the community and developers fighting over the turf.
Following up that meeting with the 800 people that you had out, people have a right to a place to live. If you build X number of luxury apartments, how many apartments for low and moderate income are you going to build? The city in some ways is throwing tax breaks at these realtors and developers. They're making millions. Is the only motive to make as much as you can, as fast as you can, and wherever you want to make it? Does Wall Street have a responsibility to the city? And I think it does.
Here in the city, while Wall Street is prospering, 1/4 of the population is officially classified as poor, and 500,000 people live in substandard housing. Recently, the Catholic bishops, in a pastoral letter, challenged corporate America to do more to combat poverty. In turn, the bishops were challenged by lay Catholics, led by William Simon.
What creates poverty? What creates prosperity in our country? We seem to have different answers, the bishops and many, many other people. The bishops don't talk about the creation of wealth. They talk about the redistribution of wealth. I'm afraid that we have to create wealth before we redistribute it. And if we do indeed, all of us, wish to lift those out of poverty and indeed help the poor, which all of us do, the bishops and ourselves share the same goal, then we have to make the economic pie larger, not redistribute the existing pie.
The bishops were perfectly right in terms of their message. Their economics may not be terrific, but whose economics is terrific? Certainly, our economics as a nation hasn't been so terrific that people can say, well, they're wrong and we're right. The bishops said, we live in a very rich society. We shouldn't have 35 million people below the poverty line. We shouldn't have 8 million people unemployed. We should try to cooperate with each other. We have a system that can provide wealth and opportunity, and we should spread that to all the people. Now, I think that if bishops don't say that, who should say that? Wall Street is not a church. It is not a philosophical entity. It is not even a thinking entity in many, many ways. It is a machine that is supposed to create profits.
Profits are rolling in now. The bulls are bellowing. Wall Street, its banner flying high, is commanding ever wider allegiance from a new generation. As the young flock to the downtown arena, they quickly learn the facts of life.
Yeah, I seen one time that there was an older gentleman, the market was going crazy. The guy had heart problems. He was losing so much money. He keeled down on the side of the ring, and people were just so in money, just the fact of money. No one cared for this poor gentleman. They just traded over him, and it's crazy down there.
Working down the commodities exchange, you learn life a lot faster. You learn how money and how greed is there. And
see, that's why I'm not rushing myself. When I want to go in that ring is when I know what I'm doing. If my boss said to me right now, John, I'm going to put you in a ring, I'd say, I don't think I'm ready. Because I want to be ready when I go into that ring, because I know what it's like out there. It's crazy, and people don't care about your family, about your kids. If you're going to have a heart attack on the floor, if it's busy, they care about themselves. That's what this world's about. You got to care about yourself.
The magic of money keeps Wall Street shining brightly. The glow ignites ambition, illuminates dreams. It has made our city the capital of capital. But even when the market soars, the prospects for many are dim. For money has no conscience, it must be guided. And investing it wisely demands that all of us learn more about the Wall Street connection.